And we're here on the Director's Cut with Ryan Lombardi, Steven Shepner, brought to you by Cart City for the first time this year from the Ernest J. Memorial Convention Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. Ryan, before we talk big news, because we've had a lot of it break in the last couple days, not even related to football and why we're here. First thoughts, man. First trip here, first thoughts.
First thoughts, this is awesome. Pretty surreal, walking by the Pat McAfee sandwich, the show I watch almost every day. So, pretty surreal. But shout out the NBA. It is not their week, but they have somehow made it their weekend. They knew right what to do in the right moment, and they broke headlines.
So, speaking of that, we'll start off with the obvious big one. Luka Dončić traded to LA, a part of a 3-team deal. What are the Mavs doing?
Just think about it. If you were a Mavericks fan, you have Luka, and this was
I wouldn't be anymore, but
all under wraps. Like, nobody knows this is breaking news, and the fact that Shams had to come out and say, this is not a joke. I did not get hacked. That is insane to me. Just how starstruck everybody was about this trade. But if you're a Mavs fan, you had a 25-year-old superstar. He brought you to the NBA Finals last year. He won the Western Conference MVP. This guy is absolutely a generational talent. He's 25, and you trade him away. And you get, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say anything bad about Anthony Davis because he's not a bad player, but Anthony Davis is up there in age in his career. And I just think it's a horrendous move, especially when Luka comes out and says, I thought I was going to be in Dallas the rest of my career. I'd be sick to my stomach if I was a Mavs fan.
I wouldn't be a Mavs fan at all anymore if I was one before that. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here and look at it from the Mavs perspective. Again, I don't understand why they made this trade. I know they were saying he hit the 270 mark in weight, and they were a little concerned about that. But, I think they kind of got a little stage fright the way that Zion has showed the Pelicans, oh, I could play back-to-backs. No, you can't, Zion. You'll be hurt for 3 weeks after you do it. I think that's what they were trying to get a little worrisome about. But I don't think they're going to be as bad as people are making them out to be, at least this year. People are talking about how they're going to be terrible. They're still going to be a playoff team to me.
They still lost by 40.
With no one.
That is true.
That is no one playing.
At the same time, it's just Luka brought that team to the finals last year, and now you send him to LA. And at first I was on the train LeBron and Luka will never work out, but the more and more I think about it, I think it could work out. The LeBron and Luka, I think LeBron has so much experience. We have seen him coach up players, and I think LeBron is the type of player to make everyone around him better. We've seen the Cavaliers team he's brought to the finals before when it was a one-man show of LeBron James. So I think LeBron has the ability to get him to take his conditioning seriously and kind of make him a unselfish player, and I think that Lakers team could really be scary.
This is the thing to me, is if Kyrie and Luka worked, LeBron and Luka is going to work.
Yeah.
LeBron will find a way to make it work with dang near any NBA player that ever is on his team. He will find a way, and if they don't find a way, he's probably an 8th man on the bench somewhere else. So it'll definitely work. It's just a matter of, did they build themselves enough time to start making big pushes into the postseason, and will he gel with everyone else? Because you got other ball-dominant players on that Lakers team too.
Yeah, and just in the center positions just become that much weaker for the Lakers, though. Anthony Davis is maybe he's a top 3 big in the league. Is that fair to say? Outside of Jokic and maybe Cat, I think AD is right up there. So the Lakers definitely get weaker at that position, so I'm very curious to see how that's going to go, work going forward.
I think you're just now a small team. You're a small ball lineup, and that's what you're gonna identify as. Man, I have their roster pulled up, and seeing Luka on this roster feels like a 2K glitch. Right now, if you went position for position, your starting center is Jackson Hayes. That's an issue. I also don't know if they're done. Trade deadline's Wednesday, I believe. I don't know if the Lakers are done doing stuff. So you could see another center get dealt to LA, but looking at a small ball lineup, you're probably going to go Luka, Reeves, Braun, maybe Kleber and Rui. Like, that's probably going to be what you roll out. Maybe Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, that's probably what you're going to roll out. But you also have Luka and LeBron. So
I mean, that's just a duo right there, and I just cannot believe it's actually real. I mean, this super team era of the NBA that we're in is just so fun. But like thinking about this, like I'm trying like making comparisons from like league to league. Like the NBA, I mean, we'll probably never see another trade like this. But if we were to see a trade break like this big of headlines, like what would that be? So like NFL, pick two players. I have my two players, I think, but if you had to swap two players from a team to kind of like equal that big trade with Luka and AD.
See, that's such a tough thing to think about, because I saw a post about it saying
I see multiple.
if you did it the NFL, there was like, this is essentially if you traded Herbert for Dak, or you traded Mike Evans for Jamar Chase for Mike Evans, like it's something like that. But the big difference with this one is not how stupid it was, to be honest, if you're a Mavs GM, but the fact that it was not rumored at all. Like with the day of social media and everything, every trade gets leaked before it happens, or at least some kind of article or something. There was nothing on this, so I think I want to hear your two players, but I think it's hard to, because this trade is almost unlike any other trade.
And like you said, I'll give you my two players in just a second, but like Jason Kidd had no idea this was even.
Braun had no idea. AD had no idea. Luka had none of them had any idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for Mark Cuban. I know he doesn't own the Mavericks anymore, but like I'm waiting for his take, because he like once came out and said that like if he had to choose his wife or Luka Dončić, he said, "I'll see you at the divorce hearing." So just like that kind of thing. Like if I want to hear what Mark Cuban like thinks of this entire thing. But my two players, let's say in the NFL, if you were to do a swap for swap, honestly, it's got to be Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Like if you swap those two players, I think that's equivalent. Like, and how like crazy that sounds, but like you think about it, like Joe Burrow brought the Bengals to the Super Bowl, completely turned that franchise around. Luka Dončić brought the Mavs to the NBA Finals and kind of turned that franchise around. So I think that would be my trade. It would be Joe Burrow for Lamar Jackson, and that would be the equivalent if that happened.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all as the equivalent. I think it's a little. I think you could find another quarterback to do in there, because AD, as great as he is playing, he's still in his prime technically, but he's starting to lead towards that end spot. I don't think either of those quarterbacks are starting to do that.
Okay.
So, and Luka is going to be in his prime for 10 to 12 more years if he stays healthy.
I'm trying to think of I feel like we're just in such a new generation of quarterbacks right now. There was a lot of quarterbacks this year in the playoffs for the first time.
Yeah,
but
I'm
trying to. I don't think I have another comparison. I mean, it maybe like Aaron Rodgers, but after the season he had, nobody wants Aaron Rodgers.
Could just do Jaden Daniels and Dak.
That's very.
I think that's a good comparison to this trade, because you have one that,
because Jaden Daniels is so young.
Jaden Daniels just is a 23-year-old quarterback, whatever he is, just led them to the NFC East Championship. And then you have Dak, who is coming off injuries and is barely getting the Cowboys to the playoffs, or getting them to the 2 seed and not winning a playoff game. Sounds very similar.
Yeah, and I mean, Dak is just the guy who will do just enough. I mean, I think I know we made an agreement not to talk about the Cowboys.
I think that was just the best. Like, I think that was a good comparison to what it could be. You brought up the Cuban thing. So Cuban did say one thing.
I didn't see that.
All he said was that he was not involved in doing any of this.
Yeah, I mean, why would he be? He loves Luka. Luka is generational. I really cannot fathom being a Mavs fan and sending the future to the Lakers. Like, just unfathomable. I mean, in the MLB, maybe that's like the Yankees trading Aaron Judge for Fernando Tatis Jr. Like, I think that's a very fair.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to run into them now too. Like, you're gonna have to. If you are in the playoffs, you are gonna have to go past the Luka-led Lakers at some point.
Oh yeah,
Like even when LeBron's gone, you're gonna have to go past.
unreal.
You're gonna meet them again at some point.
So I mean, unreal by the Mavs. I think it's going to come back to haunt them. I hope they see each other in the first round of the playoffs. I think that would be great, or maybe in the conference finals. But I don't think the Mavs will be able to make it that far with their squad. I got to be honest.
I agree.
How cool would a playoff matchup be with those two teams? Luka makes his return. The fans can't even boo him because this is not on him. He's still surprised about this trade. So I think that would be really cool if they met in the playoffs, and I think that would make one of the most entertaining playoff series like we've seen.
So switching gears from Luka, another point guard was traded in the name of De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio. San Antonio did very well in that trade, but I think Sacramento also did very well in that trade. They ended up with 3 firsts and 3 seconds in that trade as well. So they did very well for themselves, even with the Zach LaVine stuff. I mean, you're going to get off Zach LaVine's contract soon-ish. But San Antonio got their point guard of the future to pair across from Wemby.
And I honestly would not count the Spurs out yet. Yeah, I mean, you look at the standings and they are down, but with the NBA world that we live in right now, they can very well make a run for the play-in game. So I would not count them out, and you never know. I mean, they're 5 games out, or no, 3 games out, sorry, of that 10 seed, and only 5 games behind the Mavs. And with the state of the Mavs right now, who knows when they will be able to start winning games again. But honestly, I would not count the Spurs out. I think they have a big future. I mean, Stephon Castle, Wemby. So I think the Spurs do not count them out yet. I think they might make a run for the postseason this year.
I think the Bulls also did very well in this trade, too. I mean, you got Trey Jones. Now, they are very guard-heavy, are the Bulls. But the biggest part is they got their own 2025 pick back, which was previously in San Antonio. So they got that pick back in this deal. I believe that pick had to have went over in a DeMar deal, I believe, assumed or something. But they got that pick back, so they now have their own 2025 pick, which is huge.
Definitely.
Then the Spurs getting Fox. I mean, obviously that. You also got your backup point guard in Jordan McLaughlin, who they are a very good platoon together. If you watch any Kings basketball in the past. And then the Kings, their package is weird, but I mean, you talk about what Luka just got traded for. Granted, I know AD was in that, but only 1 first-round pick, and now De'Aaron Fox goes for 3 firsts and 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting rest of the NBA season. But with that, we're going to take a break here on the Director's Cut. And we're going to come back later into the show. We are going to have Ryan Leaf sitting down with myself and another staffer in Cam Melendez. And that's going to be a fun one because Ryan Leaf has an amazing story, a lot of ups and downs throughout his career and life. So love to see some insight on that. So stay tuned here from the Ernest J. Memorial Convention Center all week long. The Director's Cut, brought to you by Cart City.